Chapter 1. The Unseen Killer. Detective Anna Carter was on edge as she walked through the scene of the latest murder. The grim reality of her job had settled heavily on her shoulders. It was the fourth death in as many weeks, each victim found in the same gruesome manner, strangled in their own homes, with no signs of forced entry. The small, quaint town of Elmswood, known for its calm demeanor and picturesque landscapes, was now a breeding ground for fear. Anna had lived here all her life and never imagined it would be the backdrop for such a series of horrifying events. As she examined the crime scene in the modest bungalow of the latest victim, Sarah Mitchell, Anna's partner, Detective Mark Davis, approached. He was tall, rugged, and had a knack for bringing a sense of grounded realism to their investigations. "Another one. Anna, what's our next move?" Mark asked, his voice low and steady. Anna glanced around the room, her mind racing. The victims had nothing in common except their tragic fates. They were from different walks of life, had no known connections, and each murder had occurred in a different part of town. "Right now," Anna said, "I need to know everything about these people, their lives, their connections, any secrets they might have been hiding." Mark nodded and pulled out his notepad. "I'll get on that. Maybe there's a pattern we're missing." As the detectives continued their investigation, a chilling thought settled in Anna's mind. The lack of evidence, the randomness of the murders, and the eerie absence of a clear motive were unnerving. There was something more at play here, something beyond the realm of ordinary crime. Chapter 2. The Whispering Walls. Late that evening, Anna sat at her desk, sifting through files and crime scene photos. The soft glow of her desk lamp barely pierced the encroaching darkness of her office. The town's old library, a stately brick building with towering columns, loomed outside her window. The library had been a frequent haunt of the victims, but not in the way Anna had initially thought. It wasn't their personal connections to the place that seemed significant, but rather its history. The library was housed in a building with a long and troubled past. Anna's curiosity was piqued. She decided to investigate the library's archives for any historical records that might shed light on the case. As she delved into dusty old records and musty volumes, she stumbled upon a peculiar ledger from the early 1900s. The ledger detailed the history of the building's original owner, Jonathan Blackwood, who had been a controversial figure in his time. According to the records, Blackwood had been accused of heinous crimes, accusations that were never proven, but which had marred his reputation forever. The ledger hinted at a violent end to his life, a mysterious disappearance that had left many questions unanswered. Anna's interest was piqued. Could this old, forgotten history be linked to the current murders? Chapter 3. A Haunting Revelation. The following day, Anna visited the local historian, Margaret Ellis, who had lived in Elmswood her entire life and was deeply knowledgeable about its past. "Margaret," Anna said, "I've been researching the old library, particularly a man named Jonathan Blackwood. Can you tell me more about him?" Margaret's face grew solemn. Jonathan Blackwood was a well-respected figure in his time, but he was also accused of crimes that were never substantiated. Some say he was framed by his enemies. Others believe he might have been guilty of something terrible. The truth is lost to history, but his story ended in tragedy. Margaret paused, as if weighing whether to continue. "There are rumors that his spirit never found peace. People say he still wanders, seeking retribution for the wrongs done to him." Anna's blood ran cold. The idea of a ghost being involved in the murders was fantastical, but given the bizarre nature of the case, she couldn't ignore it. She needed to dig deeper. Chapter 4. The Ghost of Blackwood Manor. Determined to explore further, Anna decided to visit Blackwood Manor, the now abandoned estate once owned by Jonathan Blackwood. The house was a crumbling relic of a bygone era, its grandeur faded but its presence still commanding. Anna and Mark approached the mansion, the chill in the air amplifying the sense of foreboding. Inside, the house was a labyrinth of shadowy corridors and forgotten rooms. As they explored, Anna's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the grand library of the manor, Anna discovered an old journal belonging to Jonathan Blackwood. The entries detailed his struggles with his enemies, the accusations against him, and his growing despair. One entry, in particular, stood out. Asterisk, "They accuse me of terrible things, but I am innocent. My only crime was standing up against the corruption that festers in this town. If they do not believe me in life, perhaps they will hear me in death." Asterisk, Anna's heart raced. The journal's final words hinted at a desire for vindication, a desire that could explain the pattern of the murders. Chapter 5. A Vengeful Spirit. The more Anna read, the clearer the picture became. Jonathan Blackwood's spirit, if it indeed existed, seemed to be seeking revenge on those who represented the corruption he despised. The victims, though seemingly unrelated, had all been involved in some way with the town's current power structure, whether through politics, business, or law enforcement. As Anna pieced together the connections, the chilling realization dawned upon her. The ghost was targeting those it believed were part of the system that had wronged it. The murders were not random. They were acts of vengeance. Anna shared her findings with Mark, who was initially skeptical but couldn't ignore the mounting evidence. They decided to set a trap for the ghost, hoping to put an end to the killings. Chapter 6. The Final Confrontation. Using the information from the journal, Anna and Mark prepared for their final confrontation. They staged a reenactment of the events described in the journal, hoping to lure the spirit into revealing itself. As night fell, they returned to Blackwood Manor. The house, silent and ominous, seemed to hold its breath. Anna and Mark set up their equipment and waited in the darkness. Suddenly, the temperature dropped sharply, and a cold, eerie mist began to seep through the room. The ghostly figure of Jonathan Blackwood materialized, his face a mask of sorrow and anger. Anna stood her ground. "Jonathan Blackwood, we understand your pain and your quest for justice, but innocent people are suffering because of your actions. You need to let go of your anger and find peace." The spirit's eyes, once filled with rage, softened slightly. The ghost seemed to waver, as if torn between its desire for vengeance and a yearning for resolution. "We will clear your name," Anna continued, "but you must stop this. Your vengeance is only perpetuating the cycle of suffering." For a moment, the ghost seemed to hesitate. Then, with a sorrowful sigh, it began to fade away, leaving behind a lingering chill. Chapter 7. Redemption. In the days that followed, Anna and Mark worked tirelessly to clear Jonathan Blackwood's name. They unearthed new evidence, and through painstaking investigation, were able to prove that Blackwood had indeed been a victim of a malicious conspiracy. The new findings were enough to clear his name posthumously. The murders ceased, and the town of Elmswood slowly began to heal. The ghost of Jonathan Blackwood was no longer bound by anger and sorrow. He had finally found the peace he had sought for so long. Anna and Mark, though relieved, knew that the case had left an indelible mark on them. They had confronted not just a criminal, but a tortured soul seeking justice from beyond the grave. The experience had changed them, deepened their understanding of the human and supernatural condition. As they drove through the quiet streets of Elmswood, the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon, Anna glanced at her partner. "Do you think we'll ever fully understand the mysteries we face?" she asked. Mark looked thoughtful. "Maybe not fully, but we do our best. And sometimes that's enough." The town of Elmswood would never forget the events that had transpired, but it would remember the courage of those who had brought justice to both the living and the dead. As the sun rose, casting its warm light over the town, Anna knew that the shadows of the past had been put to rest, allowing a new chapter to begin.